Who was the real Pocahontas?
There is no black and white on this. You know, there's a whole lot of gray, a million shades of gray.
One has to try and find out more than just the Disney version.
We take you back to the early 17th century to find the answers. Plus, how's your soul? Best-selling author and pastor Judah Smith joins us in the studio on today's 700 Club Interactive. Well, welcome to the show. Here's a look at some trending stories. First one lady in New York tossed her wedding ring in the trash, and she didn't do it on purpose. After cooking dinner this past week, Colleen Dykeman, like any good cook, so she cleaned up. Little did she know she had thrown away her wedding ring. And she didn't realize her mistake until the next morning when she heard the garbage truck pass by. Well, to the sanitation department's credit, they helped search for the missing ring.
The driver was a little hesitant, and then as soon as I started to tell him, I started to cry.
She came and she told us that she lost her ring.
Back at the dump, they kicked into action.
We dumped it in a special area that we keep aside for things like this.
Started picking through big amounts of garbage.
And in that moment, I thought, oh my God, I'm not gonna find it.
She was kind of giving up hope.
I didn't see it. And I go, this is it, it's not in there.
Her husband, he opened the bag and he started going through all his garbage. And as he went through it, I double checked it. So as I was double checking, I opened it and voila, the ring.
And all of a sudden she goes, I found it.
Well, Colleen then bought pizza and brownies for all the sanitation workers, and that'll help build strong bodies. Pizza and brownies. That's a great way to celebrate.
But that's amazing.
It is. I mean, the people would actually help her to say, I'm willing to dig through garbage for you.
On several levels, and though obviously this isn't the first time they have an area for things like that.
They were prepared.
Yeah, but also that they would find it. I mean, that's massive.
Needle in the haystack.
Yeah. I mean, and kudos to them.
After she had given up,
they
said, no, let's keep looking.
Oh my goodness.
To believe the story that, it had been thrown away, because that gets you into, okay, how did that happen? But then to find it, yay.
Never put your rings on the cutting board. That's part of the deal.
Never take them off?
Yeah. Oh, ideologue.
Yeah.
An ordinary day turned into a day which one school nurse and a student's mom will never forget. Jessica Haas was leaving school after a parent-teacher meeting when a parent collapsed outside the school. Haas says the mother was unresponsive and she struggled to find a pulse. That's when she grabbed the AED and revived her.
It's only because the AED and the nurse's quick actions that she's not in ICU or worse. And I love her with all my heart, and I'm so glad she's still here.
And I just drop everything and I run directly to her. I will always remember this moment and this connection between this sweet woman and myself, and how God brought us together just at the right time to save her life. She just started crying and said, "You're my angel."
Doctors are still determining the cause of the woman's collapse, but her husband says she's doing remarkably well, thanks to Jessica.
And that's really quick thinking.
Yeah. Do you not, when I'm in the airport and I see those boxes on the wall, I always think, I need a lesson in this. Like if somebody dropped right here, would you know what to do?
Actually, I wouldn't know what to do. I see him at the gym, and it's like, I'm not working out that hard.
If I do, somebody slap me. Yeah.
But you do wonder what would you know, and would you actually have the presence of mind in that moment to say, I know what to do?
I would have the presence of mind to grab it, but not read directions at that moment. So maybe we need to all Google, how do you actually use one of those if you're in a crisis? Yes.
Well, 30 minutes or less. That was Domino's slogan. It started back in 1973, and a guarantee that they'll deliver to you. All of that guarantee ended in 2011 for a number of reasons, the primary one being drivers involved in traffic accidents. But what if there's no traffic and no drivers for that matter? Well, last week in New Zealand, Domino's launched the world's first commercial delivery of food by drone. The technology will expand delivery areas and promises to bring fresher pizza with faster delivery times, and they may add brownies to that for sanitation workers in New York. The company's recent GPS driver tracker polls revealed that 70% of customers would use drone deliveries if given the opportunity. Domino's is looking for opportunities for drone delivery trials in 6 other markets, from Australia to Germany, and no word yet if they'll ever make it to the U.S., but that would be a great thing. And you don't have to tip the drone.
So do you have to have that landing pad thing? Is that what it knows to drop down to? Or
this obviously has some sensor that's linked to someplace at your house. And you know, just like we have the mailbox today, the homes of the future will have a delivery place.
Hey, Jimmy John's is going to have to share their slogan.
Oh, really?
So fast it's freaky.
It would be freaky. I don't, you know, pizza dropping from the sky. I don't know.
I'm not going to touch that one. I just say. You're feeding me open lines here. Okay.
With pepperoni.
Okay, well, with Thanksgiving just a few days away, turkeys around the country are savoring their final few days before we savor Thanksgiving dinner. One turkey is pretending to be a dog and has a new lease on life thanks to a California animal sanctuary.
He certainly is the age of a turkey that would be slaughtered for Thanksgiving dinner. He just took to people immediately. He wanted to have kisses on his head and have hugs. And last week we were just really, really smitten with the fact that he likes to be pet and be this close to human beings after being through so much unknowns as a stray.
If she's kissing that head,
she does. She does. She kisses the head of the turkey. And the other part of it is that he likes to have his belly rubbed, just like a dog.
Well, you go for that. I get that his name. He actually has a name. His name is Leon. And he reportedly enjoys dried cranberries. Well, why not, Leon?
Oh, cranberry-fed turkey. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
Well, that's sort of like pre-stuffing.
You don't want a turkey as a pet?
No. I don't even want my Thanksgiving turkey named, okay?
You don't, you don't want a name?
No, I want an anonymous turkey that just...
White or dark?
Yeah. Either.
It would change definitely how you carve.
Carefully.
That would be...
Looking for the dried cranberries.
I spent enough time around 4-H clubs. When it came harvest season, things got very difficult at the farm.
Yeah, you don't want your bacon named either, but whatever. Okay. Well, this Thanksgiving, I'm going to be with family, and hopefully we'll have time for meaningful conversation. But you know, sometimes when we greet someone, it's with just a superficial, how are you? Well, Pastor Judah Smith asks a deeper question. Take a look.
Hey, I'm Judah, and I'm so excited to share this journey with you about the soul.
When New York Times bestselling author Judah Smith started texting his friends, "How's your soul?" he was interested in more than what was on the surface. It seems like an odd question to ask, but Judah says it's vital to look at what's going on inside of us and others, to check on the emotional roller coasters of our lives. In his book, How's Your Soul?, Judah explores what a healthy soul looks like and shares how to cultivate peace and calm in a fast, furious world of chaos.
Well, please welcome to the show, Pastor Judah Smith. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
It is a fast, crazy world of chaos, and you have found some answers to kind of anchoring ourselves right in the midst of that. You also have had a friendship with somebody that's very visible to people in the entertainment world, but thus to all of us, and that's Justin Bieber. And I'm wondering, how do you help somebody like that who, I mean, I think my world's crazy and my little postage stamp, but someone so visible, so judged by other people, how do you speak into his life?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are surprised to discover that those in the limelight, those with enormous expectation from millions and maybe even billions of people, that they desire the same things we all desire. It might be magnified because of their platform, but there are some essentials that we all need, essentials even for our soul, such as relationship and true connection and having margin and rest in your life. And Justin and I would talk almost every day. And to hear him process his own journey has caused me to do some soul searching and probably learned a lot about my own experience.
It's great to know that somebody can stand in the midst of that kind of pressure and visibility and soul search. And that brings me to your book, How's Your Soul? I mean, that's a very heavy question. What do you actually mean when you use the term soul?
Yeah, I think, in the Hebrew Bible, we see that heart and mind and spirit and soul seem to be synonyms. And it seems to describe all that is within us. And of course, Scripture, the overwhelming emphasis of Scripture is on the inside, not the outside. And yet, of course, culture and life and mirrors, it's so easy, and Instagram and selfies, to focus on your outside. But here we read this beautiful love story, the Scriptures, and it teaches us to be good stewards of our inside. And are we doing that? And are we surrounded with people who are committed to challenge each other to truly grow on the inside?
So what does that look like when you take that quiet time and you stand back and you actually just go in there? How does one begin to heal, repair, build one's soul to a place of healthiness?
I think a lot of us are living internally nomadic. I think we have homes and townhomes and condos, but I wonder if we've come home in our soul. And that brings me back to the ancient Hebrew mind saw the breath of God and the soul as one of the same. It was said in ancient history that the Hebrews believed that the single most significant characteristic of the human soul was the breath of God. And that beckons back to the beginning of time when Adam was this lifeless shell until the breath of God was breathed into his body and he became a living being. And so I think when you take your borrowed breath and you form it into prayer or praise, it's as if your soul is coming home.
How do you anchor your soul in the craziness of the world that we live in?
I think it goes right back to what I just said. Articulating, if we've learned anything from King David in the book of Psalms, is this man is so gritty and so honest and transparent with his prayers to God and even his complaints to God. And I would challenge anyone watching today, God already knows what's in your heart. And there's power when we use that borrowed breath to articulate it to him. And I think it reminds us that he's sovereign, he's God, he's in control, and he's really good at that.
It's hard sometimes to be really good at that on our end because there's so much that lends itself to the trivial, to the shallow. Even the social media that we engage in, it's easy to say things that you wouldn't say face to face to someone because you're not looking them in the face. And it's easy to just exchange thought, but not heart.
And I believe with all of my heart that we have got to question some of our habits. All of us do, don't we? And question, hey, is this really healthy? All the inundation of media and social media, do we have margin? Are we exercising self-control? And then, of course, connecting with someone really doesn't happen much over Twitter or over Instagram, but are we having one-on-one conversation? And I find myself even in my own life, I'm out on a date with my wife, it's embarrassing to admit, and here I am, checking social media, and she reminds me all the time, it's not okay.
I'm over here.
So, and having people in your world who will challenge you on that and say, hey, let's engage more. And of course, this book is really just a conversation starter, not really over text or social media, but one-on-one with the people that are close to you.
A thought provoker, really, for us to all do what you're talking about doing. And there's some discipline involved in that, isn't there?
There absolutely is. And I think it's gonna take some vulnerability for us to sit with those in our world and say, okay, am I okay? How do you see my lifestyle? And more importantly, do you believe my mind, my will, my emotions? Am I healthy? Chelsea and I, my wife of 17 years, we have kind of a once a month checkup where we go out and just kind of ask each other the hard questions about our soul. I believe if we're intentional, the Holy Spirit will help us. We can have that buoyant spirit and soul that I truly believe he designed us for.
And we can communicate without rancor or bitterness or anger, which would be so refreshing today, wouldn't it? Wow, especially on the heels of this moment that we are in. So I just want to say, this is a book well worth reading. And Judith, thank you for writing it. Thank you for being with us today. How's your soul? It's the book. You can pick it up nationwide wherever books are sold. It's a question worth answering in your own heart and mind. We're giving away a copy. If you'd like to enter that, go to our Facebook page and comment below our Judith Smith book guide giveaway post. We're going to select one random viewer by Friday this week, and we'll get the book out to you. So go there now. Gordon?
Her story is one of legend, but who was Pocahontas?
She really became this pawn in the middle of this life or death game.
Find out when we return. Back in 1995, Disney released another animated film. It was Pocahontas. It grossed over $300 million at the box office. But people took issue with the film's historical accuracy. For all Disney got wrong, they had this right. The story of Pocahontas is one worth telling. Take a look. She fascinates generations of people across the globe. Disney's portrayal of her captured imaginations. But who was Pocahontas?
She's a mystery. She's made out of English words which have their purposes, and there's almost no neutral Pocahontas.
There is no black and white on this. You know, there's a whole lot of gray, a million shades of gray.
Pocahontas didn't write anything down. There was no written language of her people. So everything we know of Pocahontas comes to us through the observations of Englishmen.
One has to try and find out more than just the Disney version.
They made her like a cartoon character, like she might have been some kind of legend or something that didn't really exist.
She was an essential part of the Powhatan Confederacy.
We were taught that she betrayed her people.
And what about John Smith?
Smith, he's pretty quick to publicize himself.
John Smith is probably the person who is most involved in creating the Pocahontas of legend. It's hard to tell the legend from the truth in his writings.
John Smith wrote that Pocahontas rescued him during captivity and saved his life, a claim doubted by many scholars.
He has 3 accounts of his time in Jamestown and his captivity there, and it's only in the 3rd time of writing, 1624, that he talks about her as the person who rescued him.
Legend says, she was Powhatan's favorite daughter. That's why he saved John Smith, because she fell in love and asked for it. Not so much.
I believe that was a part of the Powhatan adoption ceremony.
The rescue is, I think, improbable, but of course there's only one person who wrote anything down. There's only one witness, and that's John Smith. In real life, she married John Rolfe. In the legend, she will forever be in love with John Smith, because John Smith told us so.
Pocahontas isn't a myth, but why is her story relevant to us today?
We have something in the Native culture called full circle. So as if you plant a seed, it comes to full maturity. And that's how I feel time has begun here. We're coming back to the full circle of time.
This is a story about Pocahontas and a man who changed her life forever. But his name isn't John, it's Alexander. In the early years of the Jamestown settlement, the colonists set up trade with the Algonquin Indians and their chief, Powhatan. Powhatan's territory extended hundreds of miles.
They really landed right in the middle of Powhatan's empire.
When the English came here, they used their points of reference in the way that they had government structured, so they called him a king, but he was really a high chief. And he had about 32 tribes, we think. And there was a werewants over each one of them, or a werewant squaw. And they would be like advisors to him. So it was really pretty representative of kind of like what we have today.
In his negotiations with the English, it's likely that Powhatan saw opportunity.
He wanted the metal tools, the arms. He didn't have any of those things. Could have revolutionized life in Powhatan. So he adopted them in like he would have any other tribe, so that he would have access to those resources, because it would strengthen his political position in the States.
Ungapo. Hello. Ungapo. Corn. We need the corn.
The settlers were dependent on the natives for food, but also wanted Powhatan and his people to come under their control.
The colony was struggling. It's the story of all the English colonies. They couldn't take hold, they couldn't live, they couldn't feed themselves.
In 1611, after several years of conflict, Alexander Whitaker arrived in the midst of this turmoil. The Anglican minister left a comfortable life in England to come to the New World.
He was a young man, very, very well educated, comes from a long family of scholars. Uncle Lawrence was a noted Anglo-Saxon scholar. Uncle Alexander, besides being a great fisherman, is also the accidental inventor of bottled beer. But yeah, very well-educated family, very well-educated young man, went to Eton, went to Cambridge. This is the man who's coming over here. He's going to have church twice a day, 3 times on Sunday. Sunday's when he's going to preach his sermon. But morning and evening, he will have a service here, and everyone will attend. That is the law.
Alexander Whitaker's concern was conversion of the Native Americans, as well as pastoring the English that were there and reproving them for their failure to live up to the gospel when they didn't.
When we look at Whitaker, we see not John Calvin. We don't see Calvin thumping on his pulpit, screaming about, fire and brimstone coming down. We see more Billy Graham, who is reasoning. He's saying, look, this is what we believe, this is why we believe it.
He recognized that the Native Americans in Virginia are not a whole lot different than the English were back before they knew Christianity, when England was essentially a conglomeration of various tribes.
He's looking at them and saying, okay, they're like us. They're part of God's creation, and they don't know the true way. We need to show them this. We need to bring them into the right path.
In 1612, Whitaker wrote Good News from Virginia, a sermon he preached and then sent to the colony's sponsors in London. The sermon was based on a passage from Ecclesiastes 11. Cast your bread upon the waters, for after many days you will find it again. In spite of the colony's economic losses, the sermon moved the founders of the colony so much that they published it throughout England.
Jamestown was a commercial venture in the sense that people invested money in it, sort of like venture capitalists, expecting to get money back.
Wherefore, I do not marvel that there have been great discouragements and many adversaries at this plantation. For the devil, knowing that where Christ wins, he looseth.
Whitaker castigated the English who were investing only from a monetary standpoint. He said, we need colonists to come who will really live the Christian life and have a concern for being used of God as catalysts for the conversion of the Native Americans.
Whitaker's commitment to building good relations with the Native Americans was about to be tested.
The English didn't understand the codes of respect and honor that the Powhatans lived by. So when they would go in and take up land without asking, it was an affront to him and an insult. And so he retaliated. And that's when things started to turn, when they were taking land that he didn't give them And he actually said, "Why take by force that which would be given you for the asking?"
It fairly quickly broke down in some difficult situations, and there were people killed on both sides, hard feelings, and captives taken.
Chief Powhatan, he's as sharp as any European monarch. He's on the ball. He keeps the English off balance. He keeps them guessing. He allies with them when he wants to. He fights them when he has to.
At this time, the Native Americans, the Powhatan Indians, had a number of English in captivity and also some guns.
The colonists wanted to convince Powhatan to return the English hostages and weapons. A sea captain named Samuel Argall came up with a plan. He decided to kidnap the chief's favorite daughter and hold her for ransom.
Powhatan withdrew into his territories, and the English had to try and bring some pressure on him. And Samuel Argall, who was going up the river to the Patawomecs, who were a neighboring set of Indians, somewhat under the domination of Powhatan, but a bit independent as well. And he heard that Pocahontas was with the Patawomecs.
He was able to negotiate, to some degree under threat, what essentially was the betrayal of Pocahontas. It was a betrayal of the trust that she had in the English, and it was a betrayal on the part of her Native American friends also, who did trick her so that she would end up going on the ship and thus be kidnapped.
She really became this pawn in the middle of this life or death game that was taking place between these two groups of people who I think had good reason to deeply mistrust the motives of the other one.
Well, that's the first part in this series. We've got two more for you. We'll be showing you during this Thanksgiving week. And we want you to understand the real history here because of the importance of Pocahontas. What happened led to what the colonists called the Peace of Pocahontas, and how that established the colony of Virginia. If it hadn't been established, would we even have a United States of America? Would there have been further colonies? What would have happened? How would have America been formed? I've always been fascinated with this story. The first time I read Alexander Whitaker's Good News from Virginia, it was almost 40 years ago, so that tells you how deep into this story I am. But it's an incredible story that everyone needs to understand. And everyone needs to understand what was going on in Henrico. That was the first college. It was wiped out in an Indian massacre of 1622. But at the very foundation, missions was part of it. And that Good News from Virginia, written by Alexander Whitaker, was the first missionary tract ever published from the colonies. And it was to encourage the British that what they were doing was good and was noble and was going to lead to conversion, was going to lead to the spreading of the good news. And that's what the colony was founded to do. We don't get taught that today, and that's unfortunate we don't get taught that today. But if you want to see the real story, the real history, it's all backed up by actual historical documents from the time period. We want you to have it. There's a whole DVD of the Pocahontas, all 3 episodes put together for you. We're asking for a gift, a tax-deductible gift of $10 to get it. You can call us to order it, 1-800-700-7000. Make sure you watch. We'll be showing it tomorrow and Wednesday, the other 2 episodes, so tune in. It's an important message for all of us. We leave you this word from Daniel. Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, to whom belong wisdom and might. For Terry, for me, for all of us here, God bless you and happy Thanksgiving.